Lately you've felt flashes of something that doesn't belong here. Moments that vanish the second you try to remember them. A fragment of a conversation you never had. A face in a crowd that feels like home, but belongs to a stranger. The scent of a place you've never been. You didn't imagine it. You're remembering a timeline you once lived in. And the reason you found this video is because that version of you is trying to find you back. Stay with me here, because what I'm about to share with you might explain every moment of unexplainable nostalgia you've ever felt. Every dream that felt more real than your waking life. Every time you've looked in the mirror and felt like the person staring back wasn't quite you. This isn't about fantasy or wishful thinking. This is about the quantum nature of consciousness and the echoes we leave behind when we make choices that split our reality in two. You've felt it, haven't you? That persistent sense that something is off. Not wrong exactly, but misaligned. Like you're living a life that's almost yours, but not quite. You wake up some mornings, and for the briefest moment before full consciousness returns, you remember being someone else. Living somewhere else, loving someone else, and then it's gone, dissolved into the morning light like a dream you can't quite hold on to. But here's what most people don't understand. That feeling isn't a glitch in your perception. It's not your mind playing tricks on you. It's memory bleeding through from a parallel path you once walked. Everyone feels off in this reality, because remnants of the old one still echo. The timeline you lost didn't disappear. It folded. It compressed into the space between what is and what could have been. And sometimes in moments of deep stillness or intense emotion, the barrier between these realities becomes thin enough for you to feel the life you left behind. That's what déjà vu really is. Not a trick of memory, but a momentary alignment between parallel timelines. A brief touching of two worlds that were never meant to meet again. Think about those moments of sudden, inexplicable nostalgia. You're driving down a street you've never been on, and you're overwhelmed with a longing so intense it brings tears to your eyes. You hear a song you've never heard before, and you know every word. You meet someone for the first time, and the familiarity is so profound, it's almost painful. These aren't coincidences. These are quantum echoes, vibrational imprints from the version of you that made different choices. The version that turned left instead of right, said yes instead of no, stayed instead of leaving. Your dreams feel realer than waking life, because in the dream state, your consciousness isn't bound by the same limitations. You slip between the cracks of reality. You visit the timelines you abandoned. You live hours in the life you could have had. And when you wake up, that lingering emotion, that heaviness in your chest, that sense of having lost something precious that's real, that's not your subconscious creating fantasy. That's your consciousness remembering truth. Here's what quantum physics has been trying to tell us for decades. Every conscious choice you make creates a fork in reality. Every single one. Not just the big, obvious, life-altering decisions. Every choice carries vibrational weight. Every moment of awareness creates a branching point. And while your conscious attention follows one path forward, the energy of who you could have been still exists, still continues, still unfolds in a parallel probability. A glance, a pause, a yes instead of a no. These microseconds contain entire universes. Imagine this. You're standing at a crossroads, not literally. This happens in the space of a heartbeat. A phone rings. You glance at the screen. For a fraction of a second, you consider answering, but you don't. You let it go to voicemail. You tell yourself you'll call back later, but you never do. And life continues. Days pass, weeks, months. You forget about that call. You forget about that moment of choice. But in the quantum field, that moment never closed. When you chose not to answer, a parallel version of you chose differently. That version picked up. That version had the conversation. And that single conversation led to a coffee meeting, which led to a collaboration, which led to a move to a new city, which led to meeting someone who changed everything. An entire life branched off from that one moment. A complete timeline with its own joys and sorrows and revelations. And while you continued forward on your path, completely unaware that other version of you is still living, still experiencing, still making choices in a reality that runs parallel to yours. Now here's where it gets profound. You didn't lose that timeline. You drifted away from it, like two leaves falling from the same tree. For a moment you fall together, side by side, and then a gust of wind catches one and you separate, each following your own trajectory, toward the ground. But you're still from the same tree, still connected at the source, still carrying the same essence, just expressing it differently. And that drift, that separation, creates something unexpected. It creates echo. It creates resonance. Because consciousness isn't localized the way we think it is. Your awareness isn't trapped in this single timeline. It's distributed across every version of you that exists in every probable reality. And sometimes the signal bleeds through. Sometimes you receive transmissions from the life you're not living. And that's what creates those phantom emotions, those inexplicable feelings, those moments where you're happy without reason or sad without cause. You ever have a day where everything is objectively fine, but you're overwhelmed with grief? Nothing bad happened. Nothing changed. But there's this heaviness in your chest, like you've lost something precious. You can't name it. You can't identify what's missing. But the loss is real. It's palpable. Here's what's happening. In that moment, you're feeling the emotional echo from a parallel timeline. The version of you that made different choices is experiencing something profound. Loss, ending, transformation. And the emotional energy is so intense, it ripples across the quantum field and touches you here in this timeline, or the opposite happens. You're going through a difficult period. Everything feels heavy, the weight of your choices pressing down. And then, out of nowhere, you're flooded with joy, pure, inexplicable happiness. It doesn't match your circumstances. It doesn't make logical sense. But it's real. That's the other you. The parallel version who made different choices and is experiencing breakthrough. Victory. Love. And that joy is so powerful, it crosses the dimensional barrier. And for a moment, you feel it too. These phantom emotions aren't random. They're not chemical imbalances or mood fluctuations. They're memories from a life you're living in another probability. That was you in the version where you stayed, in the reality where you said yes, in the timeline where you took the risk. And the echo of that experience is reaching you here, reminding you of the roads not taken, the lives not lived, the versions of yourself you left behind. This is where the mirror becomes important. Not as a metaphor, but as a symbol of consciousness reflecting itself. When you look in the mirror, you're not just seeing your physical form. You're seeing the intersection point, the place where all your parallel selves converge. And sometimes, if you look long enough, if you really look, you can see them. The flicker of another expression, a different light in your eyes, the ghost of who you could have been staring back at you through the glass. That reflection isn't just bouncing light, it's a portal, a thin place where the membrane between realities becomes permeable. And your parallel selves are doing the same thing, looking into their mirrors, searching for you, trying to remember the choice that split you apart, trying to send messages across the quantum divide. And those messages don't come through language, they come through emotion, through sudden knowing, through the inexplicable certainty that somewhere, somehow, you're living a different life. Listen closely now, because this is where everything shifts. You are both the observer and the observed, the memory and the remembering. You think you're one person living one life, making one set of choices, but you're actually a multitude, a quantum superposition of infinite possibilities collapsed into this single point of awareness. And every version of you across every timeline is equally real, equally valid, equally you. When you feel that ache, that unexplainable longing for something you can't name, you're not broken. You're not lost. You're experiencing quantum entanglement with your other selves. The version of you that chose the safe path is entangled with the version that took the risk. The you that stayed is entangled with the you that left. The you that loved is entangled with the you that walked away. And that entanglement means you're never truly separate, never truly alone. You're always connected to every version of yourself that exists across the multiverse of probability. Now here's what most people miss. They think remembering these lost timelines is about regret, about mourning what could have been, about wishing they could go back and choose differently. But that's not it at all. You didn't lose the timeline. You gained perspective. Every choice you made, every path you took was necessary, was perfect, was exactly what needed to happen for you to arrive at this moment of awareness. The parallel you isn't living a better life. They're living a different life, with different challenges, different joys, different lessons. And somewhere in their reality, they're feeling echoes of your life too. They're wondering about the road not taken. They're experiencing phantom emotions from your timeline. They're looking in the mirror and catching glimpses of you. This isn't a hierarchy, it's a symphony. Every version of you playing a different note in the cosmic orchestra of your existence. So what happens when you truly understand this? When you stop resisting the echoes and start embracing them? Something beautiful, something profound. Integration. You didn't lose the timeline. You merged awareness. Every moment you spend acknowledging these parallel selves strengthens the connection. Every time you honor the choices you didn't make, you create coherence across the quantum field. Every instance of forgiveness for the paths you abandoned brings all your timelines into alignment. When you forgive what you left behind, that version forgives you. The you that stayed in the relationship you ended isn't angry. They understand. The you that took the job you turned down isn't resentful. They see the bigger picture. The you that moved to the city you never visited isn't disappointed. They're living their journey just as you're living yours. And when you release the guilt, the regret, the what-ifs, you create space for something miraculous. Quantum reconciliation. Picture this, all your parallel selves existing in their separate timelines, each one carrying a piece of your consciousness, each one living out a different probability. And then you, in this timeline, in this moment, make a choice. The choice to remember, the choice to acknowledge, the choice to integrate. And in that moment of conscious awareness, all those separate versions begin to move toward each other. Not physically, dimensionally. The barriers between timelines become permeable. The walls between realities thin. And slowly, gracefully, all versions of you begin to merge. Not into one singular existence, but into one unified awareness. You don't lose the multiplicity. You gain the connection. You become conscious of all your parallel lives simultaneously. And when that happens, when you achieve that level of quantum coherence, something shifts in your entire being. The confusion clears, the misalignment fades, that persistent feeling of being off disappears, because suddenly you're not fractured anymore. You're whole, complete, integrated across all dimensions of your existence. I want you to try something right now. Don't worry about whether you're doing it right. There's no wrong way to do this. Just close your eyes. Take a breath. A real breath, deep into your belly. And as you exhale, I want you to think about one choice. Just one. The choice you wish you could change. The moment you replay in your mind, wondering what if. Got it? Good. Now, breathe again. And this time, as you exhale, send forgiveness to that moment. Send love to the version of you that made that choice. Thank them for their courage. Thank them for their fear. Thank them for being exactly who they needed to be in that moment. Do this for every choice you wish you could change. One breath, one moment, one act of forgiveness, and feel what happens. Feel the lightness, the release, the sudden opening in your chest like a window being thrown wide in a room that's been closed for years. That's integration. That's quantum healing. That's you calling all your scattered selves home. The timelines never left. They folded inward, collapsed into the quantum field. Waiting, always waiting, for you to remember, for you to become conscious enough to see them, to feel them, to welcome them back. And now that you understand, everything changes. Those phantom emotions aren't ghosts anymore. They're messages. Those strange moments of familiarity aren't confusion. They're recognition. Those dreams that feel realer than life aren't fantasy. They're memory. You've been living in multiple dimensions simultaneously. You just didn't know it. But now you do. And that awareness, that conscious knowing, shifts everything. The next time you feel that inexplicable longing, don't push it away. Welcome it. Ask it what it's trying to tell you. Ask which version of you is reaching out. Ask what they need you to know. And listen. Really listen. Because they're trying to send you wisdom. They're trying to share what they've learned from walking a different path. They're trying to help you make better choices going forward by showing you the consequences of choices they've already lived through. This is the gift of quantum consciousness. You're not limited to learning from your own experiences in this one timeline. You have access to the accumulated wisdom of every version of yourself across infinite probabilities. You can tap into the lessons learned by the you that stayed, the you that left, the you that risked everything, the you that played it safe. All of it is available to you if you're willing to listen. And here's what the other versions want you to know. Listen closely, because this is important. They're proud of you. Every single one of them. The you that made different choices isn't disappointed in you. They're not judging your path. They're not wishing you had done things differently. They're celebrating you, Because from their perspective in their timelines, they can see what you can't. They can see the perfection in your journey. They can see the beauty in your choices. They can see the growth that came from every mistake, every detour, every moment you thought you were lost. They're sending you a message right now, across the quantum field, through the echoes, into your awareness. And the message is simple. You made the right choice. Not because it was easy, not because it was safe, not because it worked out perfectly, but because it was yours. It was authentic. It was true to who you were in that moment. And that's all that ever matters. Not the outcome, but the authenticity. Not the result, but the integrity of the choice itself. When you chose awareness, the others chose peace. When you decided to wake up, to remember, to see beyond the veil, you freed them. You freed all your parallel selves from the need to carry that burden. Because once one version of you becomes conscious, the consciousness ripples backward and forward and sideways across all timelines. Your awareness elevates them. Your remembering helps them remember. Your integration creates coherence across the entire quantum field of your existence. You're not just healing yourself in this timeline. You're healing every version of yourself everywhere. Every choice you make toward consciousness, toward awareness, toward love reverberates across dimensions. The you that's struggling in another timeline feels it. The you that's lost in darkness sees a glimmer of light. The you that's given up receives a sudden surge of hope. Because you're not separate. You never were. You're all connected, all one, all part of the same vast consciousness, expressing itself through infinite variations. This is what the ancient mystics tried to tell us, what the quantum physicists are proving with mathematics, what your heart has always known, but your mind struggled to accept. You are not a singular being living a linear life. You are a quantum phenomenon, a wave function of infinite possibility, a consciousness so vast it requires multiple timelines just to express the fullness of who you are. And the cracked mirror, the one from the beginning, the one that's been haunting you, that mirror isn't broken. It's opening. Each crack is a window, a portal, a doorway into another version of your existence. And as you become more conscious, more aware, more integrated, those cracks don't represent damage. They represent expansion. The mirror is breaking open to reveal what was always behind it. Not emptiness, not void, but light, pure consciousness, the unified field of all your possible selves merging into one luminous whole. Watch it now in your mind's eye. The mirror that showed you fragments, the reflection that never quite matched. It's transforming. The cracks are filling with golden light. Each fragmented piece is becoming whole. And stepping out of that mirror, coming toward you through dimensions, is every version of you that ever was or ever will be. They're not separate anymore. They're walking toward you with open arms, with love, with forgiveness, with perfect understanding. And as they approach, as they get closer, you realize something stunning. They're not other. They're you. They've always been you. And as they step into your space, into your awareness, into your heart, they don't collide. They merge, seamlessly, perfectly, like water returning to water, like light joining light. And suddenly, you're not fractured anymore. You're not scattered across dimensions wondering which choice was right. You're whole, complete, integrated. Every experience from every timeline now accessible. Every lesson learned, every joy experienced, every sorrow transmuted into wisdom. This is who you really are, not the limited being you thought you were, not the person defined by one set of choices in one timeline, but a vast multi-dimensional consciousness experiencing itself through infinite variations. And now that you remember, everything is different. You're not haunted by the past anymore. You're informed by it. You're not paralyzed by choices. You're empowered by them. Because you understand that every path leads home. Every choice is perfect. Every timeline is necessary. Memory isn't meant to trap you. It's meant to remind you how far you've come. Those flashes of other lives aren't there to make you regret. They're there to show you the incredible journey your consciousness has taken. The risks you've survived, the losses you've transformed, the love you've discovered. All of it across all timelines, weaving together into the magnificent tapestry of your existence. So the next time you catch a glimpse of another life in the mirror, don't look away. Meet their eyes, acknowledge them, thank them. Because that other you, that parallel self, that quantum echo, is part of your soul's journey. They're not separate from you. They're not lost. They're right here. Always have been. Waiting for you to remember. And now you have. Remember who watched with you. Remember who walked beside you through dimensions you couldn't see. Remember that you've never been alone. Not for a single moment. Every version of you across infinite timelines has been cheering you on, supporting you, loving you, believing in you, even when you didn't believe in yourself. They knew, they always knew, that eventually you'd remember. Eventually you'd find your way back to wholeness, to integration, to the truth of who you really are. And this is just the beginning. Now that you've remembered this timeline now, that you understand the quantum nature of your existence, there's more waiting for you. More to discover. More to integrate. More to become. The universe has been preparing you, guiding you, leaving breadcrumbs through synchronicity and signs and moments of inexplicable knowing, leading you here, to this moment, to this awareness, to the next revelation that's already forming on the horizon of your consciousness.